Chapter 55 Celebration Party. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Time comes on Saturday, and the game is finally about to begin. As students continue to enter the stadium, the Quidditch pitch became noisy, there were blue and green flags and decorations everywhere, and the atmosphere was very warm. The first to enter is the Ravenclaw team. Lee Jordan shouted, as usual, he is the host of this game. Cirilla, Levin, Davis, Zhang Qiu, excellent players have entered the field one by one. I have to say that this is Ravenclaw's strongest team in recent years. These words made the little wizards nod their heads frequently, especially the senior students. What was Ravenclaw like before? What was it like after Cirilla arrived? What is it like now? Everyone knows it. Although I am a Gryffindor, after watching the last Ravenclaw game, I have to admit that Levin Green and Cirilla Liane are the best pursuer combination in the history of Hogwarts. Lee's comments were drowned out by Slytherin's boos, but the boos were immediately overpowered by even louder cheers. Even the defeated Hufflepuff had to admit their legendary performance in the last game. The Ravenclaw team has arrived in the middle of the field, and Cirilla seems to be talking to Levin. What will these best partners say? Is it tactics? Or is it the secret of their tacit cooperation? Jordan gave up and continued after a few seconds. I think everyone is curious, me too, but it doesn't matter, I'm no lip reading. Jordan started telling jokes, and he suddenly lowered his voice and imitated Levin's magnetic voice. Cirilla, what kind of person do you think Lee Jordan is? Then he imitated Cirilla and made a slightly high-pitched voice. You said Jordan, of course he is very good. I mean, oh, his commentary is passionate and humorous. I think he is the best commentator. Yeah, I think so too, thank you Queen Cirilla. Of course he used his own voice in this last sentence. This self-proclaimed quip made both Levin and Cirilla laugh angrily, especially Cirilla. She raised her head and glared at Jordan from a distance. Even though he was dozens of meters away, Jordan's sharp eyes still made him shrink his neck involuntarily. Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Cirilla, I didn't mean to do it. Jordan apologized with a smile. Oh my God, Miss Cirilla's eyes are scarier than Bloody Barrow. I scared the hall. His shrinking performance caused another burst of laughter. Levin seriously doubted that this guy was watching live broadcasts of American football or basketball games at home every day, and his behavior was exactly the same as those black muggle hosts. Don't worry, Cirilla. He will definitely come to you and apologize after the game. Standing on the playing field, Levin smiled. Cirilla rolled her eyes at Levin. Do you also think my eyes are scary? The eyes of a female witcher who has experienced various crises are certainly much scarier than those of an ordinary little witch living in peaceful times. Of course, he didn't answer that way, but said, at least on the field, your eyes are like a Valkyrie. You are really good at talking. Cirilla laughed. Levin looked around and raised his voice. Then, under the leadership of our Valkyrie, Ravenclaw will win. He held out his hand and all the players put their hands on his. Ravenclaw, we must win. Even Roger shouted. As the captain, under the aura of Levin and Cirilla, he has been reduced to a tool responsible for arranging daily training, but he was happy with it, because in the future, on the Quidditch Cup displayed in the trophy room, his name would be written in the captain's column. Soon the captains of both sides shook hands, and Mrs. Hooch announced the start of the competition. Levin flew into the air, the Nimbus 2000 rose suddenly, and he casually passed the quaffle to Cirilla. The game has begun. Lee began his formal commentary again. The two sides started with a regular formation, with Levin and Cirilla taking turns holding the ball. As soon as the pair of chasers came together, they began to show their tacit understanding. In the last game, they contributed a legendary performance. They made 12 of 13 shots in 15 minutes and scored 120 points. Even on the defensive end, they performed well and only allowed their opponents to hit 2 goals. I wonder what kind of wonderful performance they can contribute in this game. I'm looking forward to it. In fact, Levin and Cirilla did live up to Jordan's expectations, because they started the massacre against Slytherin from the beginning. The two chasers maximized the speed of their broomsticks from the beginning, taking turns to attack Slytherin's defense. At this time, the little snakes finally realized the pain of the Hufflepuffs at that time. with longer training and cooperation. The tacit understanding between Levin and Cyrilla has improved to a higher level, so their defense line is like a sieve in front of the two people, and they can be easily accelerated and broken through. They are like facing an eagle. The snakes can only coil on the ground obediently and let the other side dive and ravage them. Occasionally, he wanted to be double-teamed by multiple people, but the two of them easily passed the ball to the opponent and assisted in scoring. Marcus Flint, Slytherin's captain and chaser, made wild claims before the game, claiming that he could nail that first year alone, but at this time, he turned into a follower and achieved nothing except eating Levin's exhaust, in less than 5 minutes. The score became 60-0, which was even worse than the original Hufflepuff. As a result, the little badgers on the audience stage suddenly transformed into Duke Chang during the war to resist U.S. aggression and aid Korea. It's not that our army doesn't work hard, but Kitty Hawk has gunned him. You see, Slytherin is not as good at fighting as me. In anger, they began to adopt the ancestral foul tactics. Since you can't solve the problem with the ball, then solve the problem with the player. Compared to the taller and bigger Slytherins, Ravenclaw players suffer from a physical disadvantage. Coupled with his fear of physical confrontation, Slytherin began to make some gains in offense. But it still didn't stop the two Levin'S. Slytherin's battered Derek saw the opportunity and hit a bludger hard towards Levin nearby, even though the quaffle was not in his hand, because he just wanted to give him some color, but Levin sensed the arrival of the bludger without even looking back, so he changed direction and accelerated, slightly passing the bludger. When the ball came toward him again, he flew right in front of Marcus Flint and suddenly made contact with the control of the broom. In an instant, Levin's whole body fell downwards like a free fall, but such an abrupt change of direction also caused the bludger to lose its target. It missed Levin, but hit Marcus Flint right in front of him in the face. Because Levin had just blocked his view, Slytherin Captain Marcus didn't notice the arrival of the bludger at all, and was hit hard. The ferocious force not only directly broke his nose, but also knocked him out of the way. Knocked off the broom. Oh my God, this thrilling scene caused everyone to scream. Dumbledore and Snape in the stands cast spells at the same time to slow down Marcus's landing. When Levin saw that he was almost in trouble, he also implemented a remedy. He gave up raising the broom in advance, but started the broom again when he was about to fall freely to the ground, so that his speed could catch up with the falling Marcus Flint. Special. In order to increase the deceleration effect and prevent overturning, he cast an alder sign, shock wave, on the ground as a buffer before landing. Anyway, this seal requires neither a wand nor a spell, and the shock wave is still colorless. Even if it is used, no one will find it. Unexpectedly, this scene was discovered by Cyrilla, who turned to look at him. The Cintra young lion didn't say anything and continued to defend on his broomstick. Levin's extreme moves allowed him to grab Flint as soon as he landed, prevent this big guy from landing on his face and causing secondary damage to the bridge of his nose. There is no suspense about the next game. After being ravaged by Ravenclaw, Slytherin lost his captain as a commander and completely lost his energy. So Ravenclaw brought the score down to 200-10 in one breath, and Zhang Qiu caught the golden snitch under Levin's escort. The game came to an end, and the eaglets cheered loudly. It's not just about winning this game. After winning 2 consecutive games by huge margins, Ravenclaw has basically secured the Quidditch Cup this semester. The Ravenclaw players were almost carried back to Hogwarts by the eaglets, but this level of celebration alone cannot express the excitement of the little wizards. Please give me flowers. So, after dinner that night, they simply held a party in the lounge. This gathering received rare support from Dean Flitwick. He informed the house elves in the cafeteria that the long table in the lounge was filled with delicious food. Some senior students even bought a lot of butterbeer at their own expense to cheer up the first and second years who could not go to Hogsmeade. Levin also didn't expect that the dress given by the Tonks would be put to use. At the beginning of the party, Professor Flitwick personally delivered a speech, and everyone cheered for Levin and others again. After that, Professor Flitwick wisely left the lounge, leaving the space for the little wizards. Ravenclaw's lounge soon became a sea of joy. The little wizards were in groups, drinking wine together, chatting, playing games, and dancing. As one of the biggest contributors today, Levin was welcomed by everyone. Everyone chatted around him, asking him how he felt about winning, and talked about how he lured Slytherin to attack his captain with a bludger. under such circumstances, Levin certainly did not want to spoil their interest, so he patiently chatted with everyone, until Steve came to him mysteriously. "Hey, Levin, stop with the butterbeer," that he forced his way to Levin and pushed away the senior who was chatting and trying to take advantage of Levin. "What's the matter, Steve?" Levin immediately stood aside as if he was being pardoned. Under the angry look of the senior, Steve pointed to the side. "Stop chatting here, Levin, it's Senior Cyrilla, she has been looking for you." Hearing that it was Cyrilla, the senior sister just now became frightened and walked aside. "Honestly," Levin asked curiously, "why is she looking for me?" "I don't know." Steve shook his head, "but she is staying on the window sill of the room over there, and she seems to be preparing to talk to you alone." "I see. Thanks for telling me, Steve." Levin nodded, put down the butterbeer in his hand, and walked toward the room pointed by Steve. Amidst the screams and teasing, when he opened the door, he saw the familiar gray hair. Cyrilla was leaning on the window sill, looking up at the sky. Levin found that even at this kind of party, the other party chose to wear relatively simple clothes. The upper body of the dress is relatively conservative and stable, not as shaky as some dresses. The lower body is an asymmetrical short skirt. One side is almost as short as the waist, and the other side is less than the knee, revealing the dialogue, "fair and strong thighs." All in all, pretty and stunning. Seeing the other party looking back at him, Levin quickly stepped forward and said familiarly, "Thank you, Senior, for liberating me from the hell of chatting. I will be happy to help you if you have any instructions." "Oh, really?" Cyrilla raised her chin and glanced at Levin faintly. "Since you are willing to do anything, why don't you explain to me why you use Alderman Dharma seal? P.S. Here are the rules of the Hogwarts Quidditch Cup. There are a total of 6 games in each semester for 4 colleges, and each college has to compete with the other 3 colleges. The Quidditch Cup is not a victory or defeat system, but a total point system. In each game, the team has points regardless of victory or defeat, and the points are equal to your score in this game. The total score is calculated from the total points scored in the 3 games. This means that as long as you score high enough in one game, you can win the championship even if you lose the other 2 games. Ravenclaw was able to secure the victory in advance because their total points in the 2 games reached 620. Even if they could not score a single point in the next game, the other colleges would still have to average 200 points per game, plus score to catch up. As we all know, Slytherin and Hufflepuff have already competed with Ravenclaw and only scored 10 and 20 points respectively. Then they have to chase 600 points in 2 games. Yes, this is basically impossible. As for Gryffindor, they have already competed once, the one in the original novel where Harry was framed, with a score of 170 points and a difference of 450 points. Next, they have to face the game hosted by Snape and the game against Ravenclaw. It is basically impossible to catch up with Ravenclaw. Also P.S. Butterbeer actually does not contain alcohol or alcohol. Chapter 58 Hagrid's Egg. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Ravenclaw's victory over Slytherin, a long time passed. The coldness of winter is gradually leaving, and the campus life of the little wizards is gradually opening a new chapter. In Ravenclaw, many young wizards have discovered that since the Quidditch match, their Cyrilla has become closer and closer to the first-year Levin. Occasionally, someone would see Cyrilla abandoning her best friend Penelope and chatting and laughing with Levin in the corridor on the 8th floor of the castle. This made a lot of senior boys beat their chests. The most beautiful woman in Ravenclaw, Cyrilla, who was pursued by countless people, could actually have such a close relationship with a new student. Is it any wonder that being able to play Quidditch is so popular? For a time, Levin received countless envy, jealousy and hatred. As far as he is concerned, this kind of envy and jealousy from the same sex is harmless. It even made him a little proud, but in this matter, he is far more cruel than those boys imagined, because he has indeed not developed a further relationship with Cyrilla, that is for the time being. At only 11 years old, he has only just begun to show signs of sexual characteristics. Although he is not young yet, judging from his age, he has not officially developed. He met Cyrilla frequently, just to go to the room of requirement to practice magic. This girl from the world of witchers became very proactive after hearing about the hope of returning home, and proactively asked Levin to help her improve her strength, so that she could contribute to Levin's small goal. I have to say that in this magic, Cyrilla's talent is not greater than Miss Granger, of course. In terms of IQ alone, Cyrilla may not be as high as Hermione, but Cyrilla's talent is great. She possesses ancient blood and is called a natural source of magic by the warlocks among the demon hunters. When it comes to learning magic, the sorceresses are more worried about the consequences of her losing control of her magic than worrying about whether she can learn it. After coming to the world of Harry Potter, Ciri's loss of control over magic no longer occurred, and her talent in magic was fully demonstrated. For example, she was able to reproduce several of the Witcher sigils that Gerald had displayed just by relying on her memories. In the process of teaching Cyrilla, Levin was also deeply touched. When it comes to learning magic, Cyrilla is not an academic spellcaster who relies on study to master magic, but a feeling spellcaster. Cyrilla may not be able to understand the spellcasting methods and spell models that Levin told her, but she was able to imitate Levin's spellcasting method by feel and master it in a rough way. The simpler the spell, the more so. It even took her only one day to master the fireball technique. Sometimes Levin even wondered if there was a big green guy in her mind. Of course, this talent also comes with a price, that is, the more precise the spell, the harder it is for her to learn it. For example, mirror image technique, identification technique, human immobilization technique, crazy laughter technique, etc. She just couldn't learn them. But it doesn't matter, she won't use these magics at all in battle. According to Levin's observation, he found that Ciri's fighting style was very partial to simple, rough, and quick-acting magic. Her favorite is the plastic elemental magic, such as Burning Hands, Frost Nova, Fireball, etc. Especially melee spells like Burning Hands, Levin felt that this girl wanted to completely give up the long-range advantage of magic and rely solely on physical fitness and melee spells to ravage the enemy. She is worthy of being the adopted daughter of a Witcher and the future female Witcher. Maybe we can think of a way to help her master the skills of the magic warrior. In short, when Levin and Cyrilla were taking extracurricular interest classes for the purpose of traveling to the floating city and traveling through the crystal wall system, most young wizards have exhausted their experience just by learning the content in the class. The Easter holiday has passed in a blink of an eye, summer and final exams are getting closer, and the library is full of students browsing materials. Levin doesn't spend as much time in the library as he used to, but as long as he was in the library, he would see Hermione most of the time, as well as the two idiots who were dragged here unwillingly. Miss Granger, who possesses part of the Ravenclaw gene, is indeed an atypical Gryffindor. She really loves learning. That I really want to compete with Levin in terms of grades. Hermione, it doesn't matter if I can't compare to you in extracurricular knowledge. If it's limited to in-class knowledge, I won't be able to compare with you. The little girl does have a sense of arrogance in this regard. As typical Gryffindors, Harry and Ronald were in bad luck. They sighed and yawned all day long. In addition to struggling to complete a lot of homework assigned by the teacher, they also had to complete the review plan that Hermione made for them. They really couldn't understand why someone would start reviewing 2 months in advance of the final exam. They really don't understand Miss Granger's earnest expectations for them. As her Gryffindor friends, Hermione didn't want them to embarrass herself in front of Levin. Finally one day, the suffering duo found an opportunity for liberation. They came to Levin mysteriously and told him that Hagrid had something good to show them and wanted to invite Levin to join him. Damn it, you two boys. You actually think of us when something good happens. It's not in vain that I helped you before. Levin was a little happy about this, but also a little dumbfounded. He knew what was going on as soon as he heard it. Hagrid's dragon egg had arrived. To be honest, he still didn't want to get involved. After all, seeing the dragon egg means that a series of troublesome things will be related to him. For example, the battle with Voldemort in the Forbidden Forest, such as the trapdoor adventure later. Being involved in these things would be inconsistent with his principle of keeping a low profile, but if you think about it carefully, it wouldn't be a bad idea to reject it outright. On the one hand, he has always wanted to visit the Forbidden Forest. You can get many medicinal materials for permanent potions here, but because he is not familiar with the Forbidden Forest, he has never been able to make the trip. Now there is an opportunity for Hagrid to be a free guide, which cannot be missed. On the other hand, he really wanted to see the ultimate secret of alchemy in the legend, the Sorcerer's Stone. This may be his last chance to see the Philosopher's Stone with his own eyes in this world. Being low-key is certainly important, but the Philosopher's Stone is also very attractive. What if he can learn something from it? After all, the plan could not keep up with the changes. He underestimated the expansion speed of his strength and knowledge, and the principles he set at the beginning of school were somewhat inconsistent with the reality. Besides, he has never seen a dragon in this world with his own eyes. In the end, it was rare for the two of them to be so enthusiastic, and Levin was unwilling to offend them, so he nodded in agreement. Great! The two of them suddenly became excited. Since you will also go, Hermione can only let us go to Hagrid's place. Levin, after doing this for a long time, you are using me as a tool to suppress Hermione, right? So, on the way to Hagrid's cabin, Levin had to endure Hermione's glare. After arriving near the cabin, Levin keenly discovered that there was a strange energy rising in his wallet. When he opened it, he saw that it was Scholar. You sure? How is this going? He was a little puzzled. Dong dong dong. Harry stepped forward and knocked on Hagrid's door. Seeing the destination, he put the moonstone aside for the time being. Hagrid's wooden door is very thick and it usually takes a lot of effort to open it. Levin strongly suspected that this was a method of anti-theft, that the half-giant relied on his physical strength to use the weight of the door. At least the lock-opening spell, Alejo opening, can't do anything with this kind of door. I'm coming. Hagrid's voice was loud through the wooden door. Hagrid's big furry head stuck out from the door. After carefully observing the surroundings, he let the four people into the house. After entering the house, Levin found that all the curtains in the room were tightly drawn. Hermione suddenly became sensitive. Hagrid, have you done anything outrageous again? Hagrid's eyes suddenly widened. How can you accuse someone of innocence out of thin air? Raising animals is not out of the ordinary. Raising animals is a matter within the scope of the game warden. Can it be considered out of bounds? However, the more he said this, the more people didn't believe it and looked around in the room. Seeing the four little wizards looking very interested, Hagrid sighed. Okay, I originally wanted to tell you about this. But you have to promise not to tell anyone else. Explain. Of course. Don't you still believe me? Let's start. Everyone said one after another, so he leaned down and opened the stove with an iron hook. Everyone looked around and saw a strange ellipsoid-shaped object placed in the charcoal fire of the stove. That's a big black egg. Even in the hot charcoal fire, the egg remained unchanged, obviously very extraordinary. If you look carefully, you can see that the eggshell is not smooth, and is full of needle-like protrusions. It looks dry, numb, and not round at all. It's a dragon egg. After Levin saw it, he suddenly thought, could there be a mace on the male dragon? His reasoning goes like this: this egg is so rough, but it can be produced smoothly, which shows that the female dragon is quite rough-skinned and thick-bodied. Even there, since the female dragon has rough skin and thick flesh, the male dragon can only be a mace. As long as it is delicate and rubs against the rough inner skin of the female dragon, the female dragon will definitely not feel anything. Only a mace can soothe a female dragon that can lay such rough eggs. Updated, 5/4, additional. Update, September 17th. Chapter 59. Suffering Harry, Malfoy will bear the blame. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This is a dragon egg. In addition to Levin, Hermione also recognized the identity of the egg. Hagrid was stunned for a moment, then laughed happily. Miss Granger, you actually know it? Hermione nodded. I've only seen its pattern in books before. Hagrid looked like he had met a close friend and was as happy as a 500-pound child. Yes, a dragon egg. This is a Norwegian ridgeback dragon egg, very rare. Speaking of dragon eggs, he immediately became nagging like a mother about to give birth. Oh, for it, I have been reading a book. The book says to put the eggs in the fire because their mother breathes on them. Look, it says here, after it hatches, feed it every half hour. It's a barrel of brandy and chicken blood. As he spoke, he pulled out a large book from under his pillow. There are more related books on the bookshelf in the distance. Fire Dragon Species of Britain and Ireland. Raising Fire Dragons for Fun and Profit. From Dragon Egg to Hell, a guide to raising a fire dragon. The man who dotes on fire dragons. Everyone looked at the dragon egg placed in the charcoal fire of the stove and felt a little weird. Ronald asked with some worry, Hagrid, raising a dragon is illegal, right? What if someone discovers it? Harry also reminded 890, Hagrid, does Dumbledore know about this? Hermione also pointed out sharply, Hagrid, don't forget that you live in a wooden house. Ah. Hagrid opened his mouth, not knowing what to do. Levin shook his head, do you know how to talk? Hagrid kindly called them here just to share secrets and happiness, but you idiots hit him one after another. He coughed lightly and smoothed things over. It is true that there are many problems raising dragons here, but at least Hagrid can still raise them for a few days before the size of the dragon exceeds the size of this house. Yes, that's it. Hagrid hurriedly agreed. So, in the following days, watching the dragon eggs became a rare moment of relaxation for Harry and Ronald. Hermione also noticed the problem, but she also wanted to see the dragon eggs, but she couldn't lose face, so she took Levin with her every time. Visiting the dragon eggs became their collective pastime. In the past few days, Levin also discovered that whenever he approached Hagrid's hut, the scholar's moonstone would glow. Once back at the castle, the light dims. He analyzed that this must be related to the Forbidden Forest. When he has the opportunity to go to the Forbidden Forest, he must study it, until one day Harry got a piece of paper with only 4 words written on it, hatching soon, so everyone took advantage of the lunch break and ran all the way to Hagrid's hut. Dong dong dong. Hagrid greeted them, his face glowing with excitement. This morning, I started to move a lot. I guess it must be hatching. Hagrid opened the stove lid. In the red charcoal fire, the egg would shake every few seconds, as if something was about to come out. You all saw it, he is moving. Ronald said excitedly. The little one's coming out. Harry concentrated. Let me take it out of the fire. Hagrid put on a pair of thick dragonhide gloves that were big enough to serve as Levin's hat. Hagrid put on gloves and took the dragon egg out of the stove and placed it on the table. At this time, there was already a deep crack on the dragon egg, and a funny clicking sound came from the crack. It was probably the young dragon smashing its mouth. Everyone moved their chairs closer to the table, held their breath, and watched closely. Suddenly, with a harsh scratching sound, the egg cracked. A sharp, hard nose stuck out from inside. It's out, it's out. Oh my God. Hagrid began to sob with excitement, as if the baby dragon was his own child. Soon, more and more eggshells were broken, and a young dragon emerged. The newborn baby dragon is actually not beautiful, it looks like a crumpled black umbrella. The spiny wings look particularly large compared to its thin, black body. It also has a long, big nose with white nostrils, horns on its head, and orange-red eyes that protrude outward, but Hagrid didn't take it seriously and was as kind as an old woman. It's beautiful, isn't it? Hagrid murmured. He stretched out a hand and touched Xiaolong's head. The little dragon bit his finger, revealing its long pointed teeth, but Hagrid was so excited that he shouted, Oh my God, look, it knows its mother. At this time, Levin looked at the dragon eggshell on the table and asked, Hagrid, can I share some of this eggshell? Hagrid waved his hand and said boldly, Of course, just take it if you need it. According to Levin's observation, Hagrid is actually an invisible rich man. He has been dealing with animals in the Forbidden Forest all year round and has collected an unknown amount of materials. In fact, the butt pads at home are made of 8-eyed spider silk and unicorn hair. These two things can be used to make top-notch enchanted cloaks that would drive Madame Malkin of Diagon Alley crazy, so Levin happily put the eggshells into the bag. He remembered that dragon egg shells could be used as one of the optional auxiliary materials for permanent elixirs. Although it is a joy to watch newborn dragonets play and spit fire, there are still some things to worry about. Hagrid, Hermione asked, how fast does a Norwegian ridgeback grow? In another week, it will triple in size, and after 3 weeks, Hagrid's house will no longer be able to support it, Levin said. What if it sprays? Hearing this, everyone could already picture Hagrid's cabin being burned down. Well. Hagrid was speechless. Finally, he agreed to the 4 people's request, that I only had this little guy for 2 weeks. It will be sent away in 2 weeks. Ronald contacted his second brother, dragon trainer Charlie, and took him to a Romanian dragon farm. After teasing Xiaolong some more, they left Hagrid's hut. Levin did not remind them that he had sensed Malfoy's presence before. Without Malfoy's whistleblowing, how could there be a follow-up and Harry and Ronald being punished? They were not punished in solitary confinement, so how could they go on a subsequent trip to the Forbidden Forest? For the sake of our potion ingredients, I'll let you two suffer. Anyway, Ma Tianlong will bear the blame. Sure enough, in the next period of time, the malicious smile hidden on Malfoy's face made Harry and Ronald realize that the dragon thing was exposed, so they hoped that Xiaolong would be sent away quickly, so that Malfoy would have no evidence and the hidden danger would disappear. Finally, the time to send Xiaolong off was set at midnight on Saturday. They were going to see Xiaolong for the last time. It's Saturday soon. It was a dark, overcast night. At the door of Hagrid's cabin, Ronald told Levin dejectedly that because of his mistake, Malfoy accidentally let Malfoy see the note from Charlie. He must know that we are going to take Norbert away. Ronald blushed and did not dare to look at Levin's expression when he heard that he had made a mistake. It doesn't matter, we have an invisibility cloak, which Malfoy doesn't know about. Harry reminded. But, the invisibility cloak can't hold so many people. Ronald whispered. Don't worry, you two can just use the invisibility cloak. Levin and Hermione looked at each other. The girl nodded. Mr. Green and I have other ways to avoid Malfoy. Updated, June 4th, additional update, October 17th. Chapter 60. A dead Taoist friend is not dead but a poor Taoist. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When the four arrived, Hagrid had already packed Norbert into a large crate and was ready. I prepared a lot of mice and some brandy for it, which is enough for it to eat along the way. Hagrid said in a dull voice. I also put its teddy bear in so that it wouldn't feel lonely. At this time, a tearing sound came from the crate at just the right moment, as if the teddy bear's head had been ripped off. Goodbye, Norbert. Hagrid said coquettishly. Mom will never forget you. When Levin heard these sensational words, he felt a chill. Don't want a male mother dash. Don't want a male mother. Harry thought about covering the crate with an invisibility cloak, but Levin took the initiative and took a step forward, grabbing the edge of the crate with one hand and pointing the wand at himself with the other. Suddenly, Levin himself and the box became transparent. You really know how to use disguise. Harry exclaimed. No wonder we didn't find you during our night trip last time. Aha, that's right. Remember not to tell anyone else. Levin admitted it directly and did not intend to explain the difference between the invisibility spell and the disguise spell. Then he discovered that Hermione on the other side also pointed to him in the same way, and also became transparent. You all know, illusion. Ronald suddenly became a little angry. Why didn't you take us with you when you secretly learned this spell? That requires you to learn it well. This is a skill that even senior students may not master. Levin didn't need to ask. Hermione would take the initiative to complain. If you get good or above in all subjects this semester, then I believe you can learn it. After hearing this, Ronald immediately withered. That means he's good in all subjects. His own goal is just to pass. Well, I'm just talking. Ronald sneaked into Harry's invisibility cloak, but Harry secretly made up his mind to perform well in the final semester. It's not because he wants to learn the illusion body curse. The illusion body curse won't work with the invisibility cloak. It's mainly because he doesn't want to be looked down upon by Naifan. Although after arriving at Hogwarts, he felt that his relationship with his old classmates was somewhat alienated, but after all, the other party is his friend all the time. Now that the other party is so good, he doesn't want to be underestimated. The four of them successfully delivered the box to the tower, except for a little accident on the way. When they came to the bottom of the tower, they met an unexpected person. Professor McGonagall was wearing a plaid dressing gown and a hairnet, tugging at Malfoy's ears. Confinement. She shouted, 20 points from Slytherin. Wandering around in the middle of the night, how dare you? You don't understand, Professor, Harry Potter is coming, and he's bringing a dragon with him. Malfoy felt extremely aggrieved. How could he know that the person he was accusing was standing less than 5 meters away from him? Total nonsense. How dare you make up such a lie? Let's go, I want to see what Professor Snape does with you, Malfoy. In this way, the four of them watched Professor McGonagall grabbing Malfoy's ears and walking away. They suddenly felt refreshed. It's like eating konjac and jelly and applying talcum powder. You really deserve it. Ma Tianlong. On the top of the tower, the four of them released their invisibility and waited for Charlie's friends. When Harry and Ronald worked together to carry the crate to each other, they looked at Levin with some fear and fear. "Can I ask, Levin, how did you move the crate to the roof in one breath without even taking a breath?" Harry asked carefully, "Did you use any magic?" "How is that possible?" Hermione promptly reminded, "You cannot use magic in the process of using invisibility, to hide yourself. Also, that is to say, he relied entirely on his own strength." Ronald's claws were numb instantly, staring at Levin's weak arm, his eyes full of fear. The little wizard had no idea that the other party could be so strong. At this moment, he was extremely grateful that he had apologized to Hermione and Harry under their urging, otherwise, the opponent would probably not even need to use magic and could strangle him to death with just his arms. "That's not it, bull power. Strength +5 to find out, maybe it's because I'm too happy." Apparently the four of them, actually just Harry and Ronald, were careful when going upstairs, and there was no problem at all. Something went wrong while going downstairs. The two people walking in front, Harry and Ronald, turned a corner and saw the administrator Filch, and they both forgot their invisibility cloaks on the roof, but Levin reacted quickly enough. As soon as he discovered the problem, he immediately pulled Hermione back. Seeing Hermione looking back at him, Levin quickly reminded, "A dead Taoist friend is not a poor Taoist. They have been caught, let's not send them away anymore. This will at least save a few deductions." Upon hearing this, Hermione immediately convinced her inner sense of morality, cast invisibility on herself together with Levin, and then fled without any sense of loyalty. The next day, Levin went to the auditorium hall to have breakfast as usual. After entering the auditorium, Levin discovered that the atmosphere among the students on the long table was strange. "Please give me flowers." Then he saw the Gryffindors Harry, Ronald and Neville sitting at the table listlessly, especially Neville, whose eyes were as swollen as walnuts. Hermione comforted in a low voice that it seems that what happened last night has come to a head. Levin turned to look at the giant hourglass recording the College Cup score. At this moment, the huge hourglass representing Gryffindor was only scattered with a thin layer of rubies. It was quite high yesterday, compared with the empty appearance of Ravenclaw's neighbors, which are filled with sapphires. They look weak, pitiful, and helpless. For the little lions, this is undoubtedly a huge blow. Originally, Gryffindor's score this semester ranked second, only lower than Ravenclaw, who suddenly rose to prominence due to Levin, but they at least surpassed their old rivals, the Slytherins, who had won 6 consecutive House Cups. But now, you don't need to look at it to know that they are definitely ranked last. Even the chance of catching up with Hufflepuff is slim. The question is, how could they suddenly drop 150 points? Soon they found out. The famous Potter and his 2 stupid friends caused their grades in the school year to almost disappear. They know that they can't compare to Ravenclaw, who has 11, but maybe surpassing Slytherin would be satisfying. What now? Everything is gone. But today, yes, they were deducted a full 150 points. Among them, Harry and Ronald were caught red-handed, while Neville wanted to remind them about Malfoy, but was also caught red-handed. Professor McGonagall was furious and deducted 50 points for each of them. Harry was once one of the most popular and admired figures in the school, the pride of the Gryffindors, but now he suddenly became their shame. No one among the Gryffindors wanted to sit with them, no one wanted to talk to them, and they didn't lower their voices when insulting them. On the other hand, whenever the Slytherins passed by them, the little snakes always clapped, whistled, and cheered. Although Draco Malfoy also deducted 20 points from his own college, they had no hope of competing for the championship this semester anyway. In the eyes of the little snakes, Malfoy used 20 points to exchange Gryffindor's 150 points. Although Slytherin's points were obviously deducted, it actually allowed the Academy to surpass Gryffindor and rise to second place. This deal was done. Only Hermione was ashamed and lucky. If she hadn't followed Levin's advice, she would be one of the people being laughed at now.